Hey, this is Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to teach you how to teach Red Rising, our new game. Or at least if you're watching this video right now, it is our new game. Red Rising is a hand management combo building game for 1 to 6 players. And there are many videos out there that show you how to play this game. What I'm showing you today is if you are preparing to teach Red Rising to someone else, here are the steps I would recommend that you use to do that, to go through that procedure. So the first thing I would recommend is that you just start to set up the game. Red Rising is one of those games that does not take all that long to set up. And if you have everything set up, then I think everyone will be able to visualize the game a little bit better. And while you're doing that, you can explain the overall goal of the game, which is to get victory points. The primary way of which is to build your hand of cards so that the bottom part of those cards, the points down there shown at the bottom, combo together with the other cards in your hand, and also add up with the core values, which are on the upper left of the card. So as you're setting up, each player will end up with, most players will end up with 5 of these cards, and you'll kind of give players a reason to start to look at those cards and start to piece together what they'll be doing over the course of the game, what they're building towards. After you're done with that, give each player a reference card. There are these reference cards that explain pretty much everything that you will be teaching as you teach the game. And players, I think reference cards are always helpful so that players know that even though they can listen to you right now, if they forget something, then they can realize where they need to look to reference the thing that you said a few minutes ago. The next thing to do is to explain the primary turn that each player will be taking in the game, which is called a lead turn. In a lead turn, you're choosing one card from your hand, you are deploying it on a location, and then you're picking up a card from another location or the top card of the deck. Explain how that turn works, and show that that's the main thing that players will be doing on their turn in the game. There's one other type of turn, but that's the main thing they'll be doing. And as you finish that explanation of what the core of a lead turn is, you can also show what each location's bonus is. So you'll point to the board and say, okay, you've deployed a card on one of these locations, you've gained the deployed bonus as noted on the card itself, and then you are gaining a card from another location. So if I deploy a card to Jupiter, then I'm going to gain a card from Mars, Luna, the Institute, or the top card of the deck. And as you go through these, you can explain what the location bonus from gaining a card. So if I gain a card from Jupiter, I will advance once on the fleet track. And you can go through that from Mars, Luna, the Institute, and then end with the top of the deck where you draw a card and then you roll the rising die for a random bonus. I won't go into what all these bonuses are here, but as you explain them, explain the victory points associated with them. So as you explain Mars, for example, say that you get a helium token, and helium tokens are worth 3 victory points at the end of the game. That way players can start to connect the dots between how they'll get points from gaining cards from the board on lead turns, in addition to how they're getting points from the cards that are actually in their hand at the end of the game. Once you're done with that, you can explain the other type of turn in the game, which is a scout turn. It's also noted on the reference guide. A scout turn, you'll say, is a turn that you won't take very often in the game, but if you are ever really happy with your hand, you don't have to do a lead turn, you don't have to get rid of a card. Instead, you'll do a scout turn, which is where you'll draw the top card of the deck, or you'll reveal the top card of the deck. You will place it on one of the 4 locations of your choice, and then you will gain the location bonus associated with that location. It's kind of the opposite of a lead turn, but kind of reassure players that if they're ever really happy with their hand, they can do a scout turn instead of a lead turn. Then, before you finish your explanation, you can briefly say the endgame triggers in the game, which are associated with any player reaching the 7th spot on the fleet track, if any player has 7 helium, or if any player has 7 influence on the Institute. And an endgame trigger in this game is that either all of those conditions have been met by any number of players. Like if I have the fleet track, you have the 7 helium, and someone else has 7 influence on the Institute, or if any one player has 2 of those conditions, that will trigger at the end of the game. So you can explain that endgame trigger. One thing I did forget to mention a little bit is Luna, and this is a good time to mention what Luna does. When you gain a card from Luna, or you use the scout turn to place a card on Luna, you'll gain the Sovereign token, which is a token that's worth 10 victory points at the end of the game. But it also is the trigger for each player's unique asymmetric house ability. And so this is one of the things that you'll deal out during setup. And when you're explaining how Luna works, that's a good time to say, hey, everybody, look at your house ability. This is something that will trigger whenever you gain this sovereign token. So look at your ability now to know what you'll be getting whenever you gain a card from Luna. I think, and finally, yeah, before you start the game, the final thing to do is give players plenty of time to digest the information in their opening hand. Because every player is going to have these 5 cards, or most players will have 5 cards. There's one house ability that's a little bit different. And there's a lot of information on these cards. There's deploy information, there's points, there's colors, there's abilities at the bottom of the card. And just give them a little bit of time to digest that, to see which cards kind of automatically might maybe fit together with one another and which cards don't. And leave a little bit of time for questions there as well. And I think that's a good way to get people comfortable with taking their first turn of the game. Of course, with any explanation of the game, you can also share a little bit of a theme in the game in terms of as much as you want. It's in the rulebook. It's the game was built around this Red Rising IP, this world of a cast of different colors and with golds at the top of this color chart. You can explain that if you want. I wouldn't overburden players with that during the explanation of the game. You can kind of build that in as you're talking about the game throughout the first few turns. So that is how I teach Red Rising. This video is a little over 6 minutes long, and that's really about the time that it takes to teach the game. It's very, very simple to teach since what you're doing is very simple on any given turn of Red Rising. So yeah, thanks. I'm open to your suggestions in the comments. If you have different ways to teach the game, I'd love to hear about that in the comments below. Thanks.